what is today's discussion?
What is the evolution of Buddhist way, which is starting
Dividing
from
the
Hinajan, Mahajan, Santajan, Vajrayana. And how it is and who is separated from
who is separating?
I know Swayambhunath is the pioneer of Vajrayana.
Vajrayana was conceived before Swayambhunath by Nagarjuna himself. Actually, the yanas were not divided by Buddha himself. Buddha even didn't write any book. Whatever the disciples listened to what Lord Buddha said, they wrote down in their diaries. Some were passed orally from person to person. Buddha left his body at the age of above 80. And after his parinirvan, or leaving the body, in another 30 years, a big convention or a congress was called to understand the sum total of Buddha's teachings and to see how many people, because a lot of people all over India even in other Asiatic countries already started following Buddha's teachings. So it was time to quote down the texts, to know, to make the volumes. So for this, a big congress was called, a congregation called a Mahasanghika, or the Great Communion. In this Great Communion, there were already two opposite groups, or better to say, two schools of followers. One school is the theoreticians, and the other school was called the explanators. Sautrantika are the theoreticians who were holding the basic theories they have received from Buddha, learning them by heart and preaching them. And the other school is called Vaibhasika, or one who illustrates. So what is illustration? They were yogis who practiced the dharma, or the practical side of the dharma, which Buddha taught orally to his disciples. So those who are Sautrantikas or theoreticians, or you can call the orthodox, They interpreted the theories in different ways, but their source of knowledge were the various texts of the various diaries of the various disciples. But there was so much abstract teachings of Lord Buddha that even they discussed the philosophy, they didn't know what it is actually. Like Buddha said that the truth is even beyond the conception or identity of the self. Now the question comes, if it is beyond the self, who realized it? This question is very logical. So Sautrantikas could not explain it. And already fight between the Vedics and the Buddhists started basically on very little matters or social matters, but the final confrontation was taken to the house of philosophy and understanding or realizing the truth. The minor matters were caste system. The caste system, as the Brahmins by birth, will be the educators, the teachers, and holders of the holy doctrines. The Kshatriyas, or the administrative class, and the warrior class, they will rule and take the responsibility of administration. The Vaishyas, or the business class, and the Sudras, or the laboring class. And there was outcasts also, like Chandalas, or the funeral pyre workers, or the sweepers and the cleaners of the society. They were outcasts. So this was followed by birth, like genetically. If we research on this with a deep view, we will see that if a trend of practice is followed over 3 generations, it enters the genetical qualities of the next generations. A genetic evolution can be done by following a habit or a trend for 3 generations. So this is like a choice, human choice, that will work with the power of natural probabilities in a way of development that after 5 generations, these classes are made into classes by birth, by their qualities and aptitudes. So this is like making biological clans specialized on this division of labor. There is no choice to change your class. So it's a hereditary and genetics being used to fix a class system. So this was seen as an evil practice of the society by Lord Buddha. Already in India, prior to Lord Buddha, there were two theories about this caste system. One, the basic is division of labor. In that division of labor, your choice of your self-training in a particular job in the society is demarcating your class. Like, if there are 5 brothers in the house, each of the brothers can be of a different caste system or a class system, according to their aptitude, according to their status in the society, about their service to the society. But it is not that society is settling down you without your wish. So there were always suppressed revolts. Like if you see Buddha, he was a Kshatriya, comes from a warrior or administrative class. But he has chosen a way of a rishi that generally the Brahmin classes had, the Brahmin class had the right to. Because Brahmins are given the training in philosophy and education. Till now, if you make a survey in all over India, you will see the most educated classes in the society come from very much the Brahmins, because it's thousands and thousands of years of education in their blood has been cultivated, cultured. Though it's a big evolution, but this evolution is somehow artificial. Why artificial? It's not away from nature, because the natural quality of evolution of genetics is the root of it, on which today the genetic engineering is taking us to clones. That is also creating that class system, isn't it? Think over it. So Buddha, in his dharma, in his practice, broke the class system, the caste system. He said everybody's quality and capability is standing on their choice of culture. It cannot be persuaded. Though the same idea we have seen in Bhagavad Gita, that Sri Krishna is saying, Chaturvarnang maya srijya guna karma vibhagasa. That this caste system has been created by the self according to quality and the choice of action or service to the society. So if we can look into the philosophical structure of India and Asia, we will see there are definitely two different way of philosophy, the Nigama and the Agama. Nigama, those who believe that the truth is away from life, and life is an illusion which is barrier to the truth, or is all suffering and the truth is somewhere else. So transcending life is transcending the incapabilities of the soul, reaching a truth that nobody knows, because they claimed it to be avang manasa gocharam. It's not a matter to be understood by mind or can be correlated or explained by words. You may take a challenge, then what is the value of preaching their philosophy? I myself do not know. Those who in premises believe that truth can neither be preached nor be understood by mind, then why do they do so? I don't know. I am in the same state of wonder that many of you may feel, that is there a truth that is away from life? So if I'm not born, the truth is there with me. Or after my death, the truth comes. But many faiths believed such. Think of the Egyptians. They believed the bigger life is after death. That is why the moment a king is on the throne, a pharaoh, he starts making his tomb, because that's a big work. After death home. So it's not that only in India such philosophies came. It was all over the world. And the Agama, by its own terminology, Agama means we have come to this world. And that we have come to life is more important than what is beyond life, because beyond life is an illusion. As much as the Nigamis believed that life is an illusion, that much the Agamis point out that beyond life is an imagination, an illusion. It's an illusion. Life is the reality. So whatever we have to attain as our perfection is in life, not away from life. Okay? You understand this? So when the institutionalization of these two philosophies came, though every philosophy in India shared the idea of Agama and Nigama equally, somehow Nigama, like an ascending order, that I am in my mundane crisis, I have to transcend it. In the other end, when I transcend it, okay, I have transcended. What do I do now? I live a life. So living life is more important. So what you reach in your truth of Nigama, you ultimately come back to life. Like the great sage Agastya of Rig Veda. I again and again tell you this story. It's very important to remember this story. The Vedas, the institutionalized four texts, Rik, Yajur, Sham, Atharva, they claimed that the teaching is apaurushaya, means it didn't come from any realizer who has realized as an individual. It's very contradictory in its own nature, this understanding of the Vedas, because the ultimate truth of the Vedas, Brahman, is also described as Purusha, or the realized consciousness of a person, of anyone. So if the truth is standing on realization, then how is it not the realization of human beings wrote the texts? So who wrote the texts? The term Veda means a revelation. In our scholastic studies of Indian texts, Sanskrit texts, we come across a trouble again and again, the term Veda. Because many texts that do not follow these four texts, they also speak of the Vedas. And many scholars point out, see, it is saying Vedas is the ultimate truth. But Veda is a Sanskrit word for revelation. So revelation with the frame of Rik, Yaju, Sam, Atharva are the only revelations, or anybody's realization of truth is a revelation. There is the fight. Is it clear to you all? It's very funny. That who is demarcating the revelation, who is judging it is revelation, and who is judging it is not revelation, it's a composition. Nobody knows. Nobody can assert it. But Vedas are self-contradictory because the Purusha Shukta is the highest Shukta. And remember, the realizer is seen in the term Purusha as a masculine, not feminine. So the Vedas are hyper-patriarchal. The rules of the Vedas are in the Smriti Shastras, and the Smritis, which are the second canto of the Vedas, have not allowed women, the fourth class, the laborer class, women and animals, it is written, Nari Shudra Pashu, are not allowed to the wisdom of the Vedas. Now I think the audience will start thinking whether to follow the Vedas or not, according to the genderization. Till now, umpteen number of Brahmin gurus do not give the Om mantra as an initiation to any woman or non-Brahmins. So the Agamas didn't have this demarcation. Because in Agamas, you can see the truth as God, and you can view the God from your gender-centric point. A man may see God as man, a woman may see God as feminine, divine feminine. Or a man may see God as a divine feminine, and a woman may see God as a divine masculine. All these probabilities are there. Even concepts of transsexual God, or a God who is equally male and female, or hermaphrodite, has been found in iconography, in archaeological findings of iconographies, as well as thoughts, like in Tantra, the absolute truth of the Shaivites and Shaktites, Shaktagama and Shaivagama, is Ardhanarishwar, half woman and half man god. The left side is woman, the right side is man. You have seen such statues. The right side is Shiva and left side is Parvati or Shakti. There were metaphoric values of them as well as popular folk genderization. Among the Agamas, the philosophy of Agama, there are 5 branches. Those who practice the truth as the practical dharma of yoga. Yoga is the dharma. Yoga is the discipline. Yoga is the practice. And the theory is agama. So their truth is searching an equilibrium between the inner world of philosophy and the outer world of material mundane life. So the philosophy has to satisfy both the inner and the outer, otherwise it's not matching with life. Ma, you want to have this it. So in Rig Veda, sage Agastha writes a sutra where he explains to his wife that he is finding a binary of truth, which is the truth of life and the truth of beyond life. And he cannot decide which one is a greater truth because he finds both these truths are dependent on each other or it's simultaneous and parallel. And thus, he speaks to his wife that his wife's understanding of the truth of life is sometimes bigger than his understanding of renunciation and penance to feel or realize something beyond truth, beyond life, something beyond life. So he said to his wife, let us not fight over it anymore and contest. Let us go out, search out any other realizer who can answer us. Which is the truth? Over to which truth? Or both of these are parallel. And then Agastha takes a refuge. He has no more teachings in the Nigama world, in the Vedic world, because he was disillusioned. But if this realization of Agastha is apaurushaya, or not human, not a human realization, then how this truth was not convincing to Agastha? Why Agastha was not convinced about this truth? Why he finds that there's a contradiction between his truth and his wife's truth. His wife's truth is human life and love, and his truth is renunciation and penance. and reaching somewhere which is beyond life. What is the conflict? So he saw the both are parallel and there is no resolution. So if this human understanding has been in the sutras of Vedas, how can Vedas be called Apaurushaya? Because Agastha Sutra brings the ultimate controversy of two equal and opposite philosophy. It doesn't match with the Vedic dictum that Rik, Yaju, Sham, Atharva, Sama, Atharva, they are not human compositions, not standing on human realizations. They are Apaurushaya, the divine words revealed only through sages. But it's nothing of the sage's experience. Experience is not the importance. It's again contradicting that philosophy in Agastha Sutra itself. There are many more sutras that are controversial. So generally, pointing out a philosophy as something, and when you go into the philosophy, you may not find that dictum or definition of the dharma is of any use or any meaning when you are going deeper into the understanding of the philosophy. So it's a self-contradictory philosophy in that way. But there had been, through ages, bridges tried to be made between these two opposite schools of Agama and Nigama. Vedas can be traced in its age and time, though many Hindu fundamentalists nowadays are claiming Vedas to be older than they're traced till now. They're saying even Sindh Valley civilization, Harappan, Mohenjo-daro civilization of Sindh, the oldest civilization in Asia or India. They were also Vedic. They're trying to prove it. And many false, forged archaeological objects have been presented in public, particularly through internet, that people have no other way to believe it. So now just collecting information can be equally ignorance rather than field study. So you have to do field study to go see the reality of the archaeological findings yourself, to assert something rather than from books or what other scholars have written. Everything can be ignorant and false. That is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the age of ignorance and falsity. Whatever, Agamas, according to the practitioners, are even pre-Vedic. Now there is another group of texts, wisdom texts of philosophy, called Vedantas. Now the term Vedanta itself has two opposite meanings in its construction of grammar. Vedanta means the end of the Vedas, means where the Vedas end, the Vedantas start, or the logic and school of philosophy that has refuted or ended up the Vedas. Vedasya antya Vedantya. This is one grammatical explanation. The other is Veda yasya antecha, that whatever philosophy is there has to be observed as Vedanta A Vedanta has to be observed an explanation of the Vedas and nothing else. So 4 Vedas and 4 Mahavakyas are great statements, and if these great statements do not tally with a Vedanta, then this Vedanta doesn't belong to the Vedas. Do you understand this? It's a matter of discrimination, very strong discrimination. Bhagavad Gita, which is considered today or in this age as one of the highest or most popular Vedanta, refutes the Vedas. Krishna says to Arjuna, Traigunnat bhaved vedaha nastraigunna bhavarjunam. That the Vedas are coming out of 3 mundane qualities or attributes of life, and don't get caught by the attributes of these 3 fixed qualities or 3 moving qualities, which is elusive. So if Bhagavad Gita is a Vedanta which refutes the Vedas, then of course there are many Vedantas which are not yet recognized as non-Vedic or anti-Vedic. Clear? Buddha's philosophy has also been recognized as Vedanta by many Vedantis. Even Adi Shankara recognized Buddha's teachings as Vedanta. That has been completely agreed by the great philosopher of modern great philosopher Swami Vivekananda. But there are great Buddhist realizers, those who do not agree with it, because the premises of the Vedas are standing on the 4 titles of the 4 books. And those titles do not match with the premises of what Buddha is teaching. There are many more Vedantas which do not abide with the Chatur Mahavakyas or 4 title philosophies of Vedas. Vedas means the friend Vedas, the institutionalized Vedas, because every revelation itself can be termed as Veda. A poet's poetry can also be called and claimed to be a Veda. Like Ayurveda is a medicine text which is part of Agama, but it's called Veda because the revelation of the medicines and its cure. So in that sense, Ayurveda is not a Vedic text because the non-Vedic god Shiva and Parvati, they are discussing Ayurveda. So it is not a Vedic text. It's a Shaivite or a Shakta text. It's an Agama text, but it's called Ayurveda. So thus, the term Veda can be used equally as the institutionalized 4 texts, Rik, Yajur, Sam, Atharva, or any revelation. So this is a big illusion for an scholar who is going into Indian philosophy to research. They get into this controversy. How, in which text, in which sloka, the Tan Veda is institutionalized text of the 4 volumes or a revelation free from that demarcation. It's very difficult. So then you have to find the premise of the philosophy that that text is speaking about. If it is directly explanation of any or all or some of the 4 titles or 4 noble truths of the Vedas, then it is a Vedanta, otherwise it is not a Vedanta. Like when the Vedanta school was growing, the greatest sponsor of these texts to establish in the society was King Janaka, or father of Ma Sita, who was wife of Sri Ramachandra. And a non-Vedic outcast, not only non-Vedic outcast, Ashtavakra, called a sage, was chosen to be the guru or a liberator for King Janaka, while Janaka is sponsoring thousands of Vedic sages to have annual seminar and conference in his court, and he's sponsoring, codifying these texts. But he himself didn't choose the Vedic way. He chose the non-Vedic way. He chose the Agama way. Ashtavakra is seen as the one of the earliest or pioneers of Yoga Shastra. Agastya, as a yogi, was later found in Shaivite and Shaktite texts, especially in Parashuramiya Kalpasutram text, where he is not a Vedic. His premises of philosophy is not on the Chatur Mahavakyas. His premises of philosophy is in the balance of inner and outer, which is the equipoise, which is called the yoga. So Buddha school also divided into 2. The yogic practitioners, those who will explain the sutras completely from the experiential standard of wisdom, whereas theoreticians who will explain the sutras or preach the sutras standing on analysis, not experience. So Vaibhashikas are the illustrators or explanators. They call the Sautrantikas to be parrots, and the yogis to be true. Till today, the yogis follow the oral tradition because they don't too much rely upon the books. That you experience through your guru the truth. You learn it by heart in your own experience, not in words, and find out your own words of explanation. This is the oral tradition. I come from the oral tradition. Though I have been into textual tradition for a long time, also some 14 years, I was in a textual tradition. But even that guru, he was a Vedantist. He told me all these texts are meaningless informations to one who has not experienced. So according to him, he didn't choose the word experience, he chose the word feelings, anubhav. Without feeling, I will call it experience. The feeling is not separated from experience. It's all standing on realizing psychology more than the philosophy, because psychology is making the structure of the philosophy. To know yourself is a matter of psychology rather than philosophizing. Do you agree with me or not? You may not agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. But I don't find the value of a wisdom which I have not experienced at all. So that is my mind work, my brain jerk. I'm using some modern English American slangs. Brain jerk. Larissa is laughing. But it makes more sense that the brain has jerked. And I think it's so important that my brain has jerked. But if that jerk does not tally with life and experience, there's no value to it. So, when Lord Buddha went out, when renounced, he first ended up with Gautama Muni, who was the founder of the school of philosophy called Nyaya or ethics, Indian ethics. The guru was Gautama. He's a logician because the ethics is standing on logistics in India. Because what is the ethics have to be analytically assessed. So that school of philosophy, Gautama, Siddhartha or Buddha, before becoming Buddha, took refuge to. That is why he's called Gautama Buddha, a Buddha in the line of Gautama. And if you see the lineage or how the philosophy of Gautama, Nyaya, or ethics came, you will get stunned. They came from non-Vedic origins. And this finding the line in Sanskrit quotations are called Gotra Pravaramala. That how one sage started a philosophy, then in a long time, another sage institutionalizes it with a little difference or a turn of the philosophy, remaining the same philosophy, but discovering more dimensions of the same philosophy. Then another sage comes and changes it a little bit, like Newton, Galileo, Newton, Einstein, Stephen Hawking. One is not totally changing from the other, but is evolving, developing. So this is called Gotra Pravaramala. So in this Gotra Pravaramala, we find how the Gautama, sage Gautama or his philosophers Nyaya came. It starts from Angirasa or the Shaivite yogis, Angirasa. From Angirasa to the school of sages named as Nairatma, or nothing fixed or nothing stable. Their philosophy is nothing you can rely upon. Everything is changing. So the philosophy came to changefulness. Angirasa means experience. Angi means pertaining to the body. Rasa means the taste. So the taste of wisdom which pertains to the body, that is the yoga theories and philosophies, is Angirasa. The Nairatma or Ashashvatavad, nothing is eternal, everything is changeful. From there came Barhaspatta. Angirasa, now from Angirasa came Barhaspatta. Barhaspatta is Brihaspati, development, the theory of development. Here, divine hedonism comes in the line known as Charvak or Charuvak, those who said the philosophies of life more important than any other abstract philosophy. So, Angirasa, Barhashpatta, Noitruva, the phenomenologists, you can call the Noitrubas phenomenologists, and then Gautama. So this has come again from the yoga philosophy, which is practical philosophy. And Gautama Muni's disciple was Buddha. But Buddha didn't find some parities in teachings of Gautama. So when he asked Gautama repeatedly on these imparities of the philosophy, he was ousted, he was rusticated. And thus, Buddha was not allowed into any traditional, institutional school of the Vedics to take any wisdom. So he went to the forest, search of his own. Because that time, it was a trend to go to the forest is to know the truth. In gist, that if you are one with nature and live in nature, then you will find the cosmological truth, which is to be discovered from the happenings of nature. So the sages are called Aranyaks, or wisdom holders of the forests. So 14 years, Buddha ran from one master to another. Even Bhagavan Mahavira of the Jains was one of his gurus. And ultimately, he found his own way of realization. And thus, those who followed him are called Buddhists. But in time of Buddha, the theory of a Buddhist was not standing there, because those who have followed Buddha and made his community or Sangha, they were called Sadharma practitioners, means searchers and practitioners of truth, not searchers and practitioners of Buddha's truth, of truth. That is why Buddha said that the observation of truth may change in space and time according to culture, and every realizer should give importance to space, time, and culture to develop the teaching or preaching of such truth that they find. Thus, Buddhism itself is a heterodox school of thought, that it's a rolling wheel. It's not stopped. It's evolving continuously, not like fixed doctrines. Though many Buddhist scholars today, sad to say, especially the neo-Buddhists of the Western world, they're fixed to Buddhist dictums. They will ever remain as Buddhists and never know the Buddha mind. They're so idiotically fixed to the doctrines. Why idiotically? They speak these big lines that they learn from their teachers and lamas and acharyas. They learn by heart and go on preaching them without making any sense or realization of it. I remember I have attended many international seminars in my life as a teacher, as an academician. And I've seen that they are talking so wise word and so idiotically. An example, the other day somebody showed me in internet a discussion of scholars going on some 25 years back, that somebody is saying Kulavadhuta Satpurananda is a Buddhist yogi who has very controversial theories. And another person is saying, no, he's not a Buddhist yogi. Why? He speaks of Shiva and Shakti. How a Buddhist will ever speak of Shiva and Shakti? As if Buddha has prohibited a Buddhist to think of Shiva and Shakti. And then most of the popular deities of Vajrayana has to be omitted because they are all Shiva and Shakti forms. This little knowledge they don't have. They're refuting schools of philosophy that they have not practiced themselves. Like when I refute Vedanta, you should know 14 years I studied, practiced in the orthodox discipline of Vedanta. From there, I've earned the right to analyze and refute the texts that I have gone through and found no meaning in parity with my experience. Of course, I will talk my truth from my realization. It may not match you. You have to experience to understand the philosophy. So Buddha's first part of life, standing on high tenets, austerity, renunciation, and purification, and of course such, standing on the stillness of mind, how your mind is stilled. In that stillness of mind, you will find the truth. This stillness of mind is very Shaivite. It's termed by the Sanskrit word sham, talabasha, or sha, means existential tranquility or stillness. No wavering. Now, I was saying the Angira or Angirasa rishis were the earliest known in India, even pre-Vedic. In Atanatiya Sutta, I've said this again and again and again, but still I say this. Because today's discussion, Shantanu has taken it into a very dialectical question. It's a matter of analysis and judgment rather than going into the depth of experiential studies. We have to stand many things on informations to talk about it. No matter, one who questioned it, Santanu, is a Brahmin. So you understand, the Brahmin always sees in that way this how he's fashioned to see. It's in his blood. Did you get it, Santanu? Rather than Tattva, your interest is in Tathya. Tattva means wisdom and Tathya means information. You are trying to find a structure of information rather than going into the depth, plunging into the depth of realization from experience. It's Brahminical. What to do? This is the question. There has to be an answer. And I'm sitting in this end to answer your questions. So, with all these, when Buddha started his school of teaching of the Four Noble Truths, which holds the Eightfold Path, they were standing on that. In Atanatiya Sutta of Theravada, Buddha has remarked about himself as Angirasa. Angirasassa namattu sakya puttassa siddhimata. Means we bow down to Angira Rishi or the sage Angirasa, who is Sakyaputra or the child of the Sakya clan. That means Sakyaputra is one epithet of Gautama Buddha. So there he clearly shows his origin of philosophy, which is not Buddhist, which is Agama. All dry-heart Buddhists should know this, that Buddha was not a Buddhist. He was a Buddha. Two years back, I went to Bodh Gaya for a pilgrimage, and one of my friends took me to a Tibetan, very famous teacher. I will not speak his name, a very high Rinpoche, because he thought, he was Hindu, he thought he's studying with this Rinpoche that Vajrayana's ultimate phase and the Aghoris are very similar. The great yogis of Vajrayana, the Siddhacharyas of Vajrayana, and Aghoris are very identical. He was not wrong. But when I went to meet this master, we talked over a cup of tea. And he was saying, suddenly he came, when we were speaking, exchanging the similarities, suddenly he said, I said, in essence of spirituality and practice of yoga, the Niruttara Tantra of Buddhism and Aghora Tantra of Shaivism are identical, except some difference of terminology. The entire practice, the oral tradition, is exactly the same. There's no difference. And then he said, there must be a difference. And he went on repeating, there must be a difference. Then I said, whether the wisdom view of Buddha was standing on differences or indifference of truth. So he said, there must be a difference because Aghoris do not bow down to Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, but we start with Buddha, Dharma and Sangha. In such trifle matter, he is enjoying finding a difference. He's giving teaching on thick books of wisdom. There is no wisdom in him. He's not understood one single thing, that the experience of samadhi, the void of the samadhi, cannot be a Hindu void and a Buddhist void. So I felt very hopeless talking 1 hour with him. And then there was a picture of Guru Padmasambhava in the wall holding a sword and dancing. So I asked him, that Rinpoche, what this image of Padmasambhava mean? He's dancing with a sword. Isn't it a rare iconography? He said, yes, but I don't know. I said, why? There are many forms that I do not know. So he does not know in his own religion what an iconography is of his most revered personality, Padmasambhava. And he is differentiating between the realizer of the Aghara and the realizer of the Niruttara Tantra. How fake a person's entire knowledge of books is. How much self-cheating is there stored in a person to have such a view? So when I came back from him, I said to my friend that how do you enjoy studying with him who does not have the basic realization? Standing on samadhi, that means he has not attained samadhi. If he has attained samadhi, his stigma on differences, speciality would have gone. That has not gone. So he is not reached the mind of stillness. How he is. He's preaching religion. He's preaching doctrines out of the same wisdom texts that when I study or read, I find complete different realization out of it. He's trying to find the difference. His mind is fixed to the difference, to the samvartik sattva, and not on paramartik satya. Buddha said two truths: the never changing truth and the changefulness of truth. They are still studying changefulness of truth. They have not reached the never changing truth at all. And they are big gurus in the society, making big monasteries, brocades, big chairs, big thrones, big crowns. What's the value? What's the value at the end of the day? That the truth is not free from a religious connotation. But this is what the history of religion is all about. So first, the stillness of mind to attain, Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, the truths of suffering connected to desire and how to come out of it. The final structure of practice is the Eightfold Path, from where the wheel of Dharma has 8 spikes, means the Eightfold Path rolling. So this teaching of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path connected to the disciplines, regular disciplines that support the psychology in a purification and realization thereof is known as Theravada. The term Thera in Pali language, in Sanskrit, came from the term sthira. Sthira means still. The stillness of mind is the first yana or first method of Buddhism that Buddha preached for 14 years. Buddha didn't preach, Buddha taught. His disciples preached. Buddha saw after 14 years that many of his disciples have attained that stillness of mind, but together with it, they have become very doctrinal, fixed to blind bigotry of his teachings, and he is finding that his teachings have become like chains around him. So picked up best 8 disciples among his enlightened disciples of the Theravada or Hinayana, it is also called Hinayana, and took them for camping for a number of years in a bamboo grove above a hill called Grithrakuta, or the Vulture Peak. And there, in that bamboo grove, they tented, lived there, walked down from the mountains every day, walked down from the hill, went to the nearby villages, begged and survived, and came back and lived there. There were both nuns and monks living with him, that has been mentioned. So these 8 enlightened beings in the threshold of enlightenment, or they have entered the stillness of mind, are known in the term of Ashtapudgala, or the 8 holy souls. They, what teaching they developed is known as Mahayana. Their evolution is known as a Mahayana. What is Mahayana? In Hinayana, Hina means mean or small. Yana means chariot, means this is the chariot taking you to the journey of enlightenment. That you, only individuals go there. Those who are left everything and they're concerned about their own personal liberation and wisdom. And Mahayana, a new vistas came in the school of philosophy. What Buddha spoke after 14 years of his teaching and training his disciples, that just looking after your individual enlightenment will not make you enlightened, because I'm not seeing what I have come to. You are not there. You have attained stillness of mind, but there's no compassion in you. Even the stillness of mind is seen as a special accomplishment by you, from where you are holding on to something. I have told you not to hold on to something. So Buddha gave them a teaching of the homeless. He's continuously saying, as a homeless does not hold on to anything. Similarly, a bodhisattva, an enlightened identity, should not hold on to anything, because they already are fixed into an identity that we are enlightened. So Buddha is saying this enlightenment needs to be repeated so much that this fixation to I am enlightened, I am special goes. Because so long you have your self-identity, your ego is working in any way. So that is not enlightenment. Because the enlightenment is beyond self. This is a Mahayana. So what is Mahayana? That one who has entered the stillness of mind will get disturbed by others. So if you can handle this disturbance by others on whom you are depending, because these people were holy beggars, they have to depend upon people who are not enlightened, those who are mundane, those who feed them. And then feeding upon people and calling them ignorant is a false ego. So Buddha is saying, you have to share your wisdom with others, not as your specialty, but that truth is free from specialty and can be realized by one and all. If you cannot make somebody realize your truth, then you should regard yourself incapable to reach that soul. So you should develop your tools, your means of enlightenment, to impart the enlightenment in another one. So this is sharing your wisdom, that is Mahayana. Why it is Mahayana? You are not traveling there alone in the journey. You are carrying with you many people who are following you. Your enlightenment has to come with their enlightenment. It's like a guide taking people to a new land that he himself will see it, or she herself will see it, but with others, sharing with others, not a selfish journey, not a self-centered journey, from where the assertion of the self comes. It has to be a selfless journey. So in that selfless journey, even if a high Rinpoche says, what is the difference? Then he is searching for speciality. He is fixed into the wax of dictums and doctrines, and his heart is not free and open to share his wisdom with everybody. He only shares it with Buddhists. Try to understand what I'm saying. I'm saying, speaking of the truth of Buddha, which is not a religious policy. Whenever a religious policy comes, it disintegrates the truth of the realization. Its fabrication and framework starts around it. So when Mahayana, in this great Sangika, I was saying, when all these Sautrantikas and Vaibhasikas met each other, for long time they were discussing. There were a lot of controversies. Lot of different references and books were getting written down, quotes. At the end, people found that the oldest monk in the congregation has remained silent all over and have not spoken anything. So his name was Acharya Mahadeva, and he was a disciple of Mahakashyapa, one of the most favorite disciples of Buddha. Though Buddha didn't have a particular favor or partiality, but Mahakashyapa was one who went very near to Buddha's realization, as we find in the interactions between Mahakashyapa and Buddha, the texts. So Mahakashyapa's foremost student, a disciple, is Mahadeva. And they asked Mahadeva, you say something. And Mahadeva said, no. It's meaningless to speak here anything of wisdom, because here whatever is going on is information and intellectual speculation. There is no wisdom being discussed here. Just think of it. So they said, how do you say that? You, like a house, a room, is also space, but it is demarcated by walls and roof. So it is a limited space. Similarly, when you are trying to understand the doctrine of voidness, you are making it a doctrine. It's not a doctrine, it's a realization. It's an experience of Buddha. So voidness is sky-like consciousness. It is not a room. By this logic and this theory and this judgment, it is voidness. What is your openness? You're fighting among yourselves. Who is more Buddhist than the other? What is that which is the dharma of Bodha, a dharma of realization? Buddha spoke of a dharma, or holding on to realization. What is your realization? You are fighting over informations like intellectual speculators. What is your realization? When he said this, the Vaibhashikas or the yogis all stood up and clapped, and yes, that's the truth. So what Mahadeva said became Mahayana and wholly supported by the Vaibhashikas of the illustrators and the explanators, which was the primary division of group, and those who were bookish, they could not take it. So from there, Hinayana and the Mahayana became two different schools or orders. See, it's not. First, you have to attain the stillness of mind. When I have gone through my gurus, they have traveled me, made me travel through all the yanas, not one particularly, because their look was by attaining the wisdom of a Buddha, you find your own Buddha mind rather than becoming a Buddhist. Is it clear to you? A yogi does not become a ist following any ism. A yogi finds the truth in himself or herself or itself as it is. He may take help of some school of teaching, but is not bound to any doctrine. Is only following the track of realization, bodhi. So with bodhicharya, an person walking in the path of enlightenment, development of enlightenment, he has reached the stillness of mind, which is also an enlightenment of an arhata. But that's not enough. More, go further. Even the Upanishads or Vedanta also said, Charai Veti, go further. Don't stop here. Move and see. So Mahayana came up and Mahayana got institutionalized from them. But the final institutionalization of Mahayana came under Acharya or Buddha Nagarjuna. He is the second Buddha. Because he gave the mathematical deduction of understanding of voidness. Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher and mathematician, has spoken about the theory of zero being Buddhist, and he received it from the Buddhist realizers of India. This Buddhist realization of shunyata or voidness is the in-between realization, a realization which is joining the two opposite understandings of the mundane and the spiritual, samsara and nirvana, outer and the inner. That is yoga. Yoga is showing the polarization. When you see the extremes, you are saying it's two different. So the view of difference is one who is not joined in the middle. Even be a big Rinpoche or a big Acharya, doesn't matter. These are all framework and fabrication. The truth is, are you standing on differences, or your mind has developed into indifference? Which is your state of mind? That is what your realization is. Nagarjuna started institutionalization of Mahayana by the theory of Madhyamika, or finding the midpoint where the two extremes are the same or joined together. That meeting point, the balance. So there is a logical theory came because it became, already Buddhism has become too doctrinal and too intellectual, a matter of intellectual analysts. So what Buddha spoke in Pali or a colloquial language has again been brought into Sanskrit, a language of the elites and the educated, because now the theories are coming out. Theories are more important in this situation. even Nagarjuna had to write his texts in Sanskrit for the educated class. So Nagarjuna's great sharing in Buddhist canonian literature is Pragya Paramita Ashtashahasrika. Nagarjuna said, declared, that in his past life, he was foremost of the bodhisattvas who was declared to have reached the Buddha mind by Buddha much later when he has left Buddha. His name was Subhuti. That Subhuti has reincarnated as Nagarjuna. And he kept his diary. Subhuti's diary was kept in a time capsule in Nagarjuna Konda of Andhra Pradesh, a cave behind an waterfalls. And from there, he took it out and showed that he has hidden his diary because it was too early for the age. So Nagarjuna is in 1st century or 2nd century BC in this time. Buddha was some 500 years before. So after 500 years, Buddhists were ready to understand or was preparing to understand what is voidness. So 500 years went not realizing totally what is voidness, or even those who realized what is the sense or wisdom behind the term voidness, they didn't speak about it, or whatever they spoke, it didn't clarify. So the means, the tools became perfect in another 500 years. So Nagarjuna gave Ashtashahasrika Pragya Paramita with its 20 different volumes. Each one is called a paramita. So thus there are 20 paramitas. And thus Buddha, Lord Nagarjuna sectioned the realization, the evolution of a bodhisattva's realization of shunyata into 20 stages and called it Vingsha Sunyata, or 20 steps of voidness. Now, voidness also have 20 steps. See, what the human mind is still alert in differences. What to speak of a throned and brocaded Rinpoche. So, at the end of Nagarjuna's life, it is believed Nagarjuna lived for near about 400 years. He was an alchemist. This Nagarjuna is known as the theoretician Nagarjuna and the yogi Nagarjuna. So he is sometimes termed as Siddha Nagarjuna, sometimes termed as Madhyamika Nagarjuna, one who propounded the theory of Madhyamik. But if you go deep into the theory of Madhyamik, you will understand where from the sense of Tantra came. If you don't understand Madhyamika, you will not understand the essential wisdom of Tantra at all. How all the differences are connected, and when you find the connections, then all the differences dissolve into pure consciousness, and that pure consciousness, being free from assertion or negation, is the neutral state of realization, and thus the neutral state of realization is called voidness. The void is not empty. You know, many Western scholars, even Buddhist scholars, have translated into English the term shunyata into emptiness. Why? Because in their mind, the theory of emptying or nihilism is installed. Even they say, we are not nihilists like Vedantis. But ultimately what they are saying is nihilism, that as if it's a space which was full of everything, and now you have emptied it. Thus you called it emptiness. No. Everything there as it is in voidness. Because every number in its essential value in mathematics is zero. Because plus and minus value equations of every digit is zero in its valuation. That is what Pythagoras is saying about Buddhist zero. Plus minus 1 is equal to 0. Plus minus 2 equal to 0. Plus minus 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is equal to 0. You can think all of these numbers. Can you think of 0? Now come to the main point, which is not theory. Can you feel 0? Anybody? You are hearing 0, 0, 0. Can you feel 0? Anybody say that I can feel 0? So 0 is the value of every number without realizing that, without feeling that, experiencing that. You are experiencing all the numbers. How funny. This is the premise, essential Buddhist philosopher will call ignorance. That you know many things, but you don't know the substratum of many things. So accumulation of many thoughts is not wisdom, but the mind which has resolved all thoughts, not thrown out all thoughts. You cannot throw out. You have resolved all thoughts. And thus no thought is of extra value to you, and that is the state of voidness. Does that make any sense to you, what I'm saying? Because everybody is very silent and, okay, thank you. At least somebody is trying to understand whatever rubbish I am saying. So, this polarization showed the binary of mind. And Nagarjuna, in his more matured time, made an institution, though it is secret institution, not open to all, called Guccha Samaja, means secret society. What is that secret society? Tantra. Why it is secret society? Because it is still under surveillance. It's still under trial and error. Nagarjuna made this house of research on the topic Tantra, or the mechanism or structure through which we can reach the truth, not like a free wanderer. We can get lost. What is the structured way to enter it? So he showed 20 steps to voidness. Each one is a state of realization, but it's superseding the other and going higher and higher, finer and finer. Thus, Prajnaparamita says, perfection of wisdom, coursing in perfection of wisdom. It's carried on, it is not complete. A bodhisattva is not complete with the perfection of wisdom, has experienced the perfection of wisdom, but not grown enough roots to wholly realize it and come to nirvana absolute. It has not happened. He has not yet, he or she, a bodhisattva has not yet reached non-identity. So long non-identity or nirvana is reached, you are still a Buddhist. You have not yet experienced the Buddha intrinsic nature of yourself. You're still following something. With the faith, you will reach one day there. That is religion, unexplained faith. But Buddha's truth is not a religion, because Buddha said in the premises that don't believe in me. What you are listening, try it with yourself. Experience yourself. Then you think it's important to rely upon it, you rely upon it. And Buddha said that he believes that whoever practices, not just chanting the words, will reach that voidness. So Tantrayana came or became a secret society in time of Nagarjuna. And the basic text he wrote for it is Guhya Samadhi. The text is itself called the secret society. So it is showing the structure of Buddha's practices and stages of accomplishments metaphorized as 5 Buddhas. So there are 5 stages of development in Buddha's enlightenment. His enlightenment also didn't stop on the day of his enlightenment, but rolled on since then. It was rolling on. And this wisdom of Tantra is in the development of the mind reaching the Buddha mind. This Tantra is today found with all the schools of Agama. Shaivagama, Shaktagama, Vaishnavagama, Jainagama, and Buddhagama. Everybody has taken Tantra. Now there is a fight going on today. I am also debating in many forums all my life about Tantra being institutionalized by Buddhists. And thus, Buddhism congregated all the non-Vedic schools together. If you want to know the truth of it, come to the oldest monastery sites or caves, monolithic caves of Ajanta and Ellora, and see it with your own eyes. You don't have to believe me. Do some field study, do some field work. See what they're showing. Because the books can be changed. Read it. But the statues cannot be remade on the same stone. So the statues also have a language, the language of iconography and iconology. If you follow them, then you will find out that they were all allied schools who shared the view of Tantra. So Nagarjuna in South India is regarded by the Shaivites and the yogis as a Shiva avatar. And Nagarjuna's stuti or hymn to Nagarjuna is being offered to Shiva temples, to Lord Shiva. Even there is a shloka of Aparadhamarjana, or asking for forgiveness to Shiva, being an Brahmin. not to realize the essentials of Shaivism. We started the Angirasa sages, were the Shaivites, earliest in India. So these Angirasa sages, their teachings came to Shaivism, but later they got caught up in the Vedic society, persuasion of the Vedic dictums, and got a lot mixed up. And then again, as a subaltern from Buddha, people started learning back the essentials of Shaivism and Shaktism. So in that view, Buddha is an Angirasa. The earliest yogis, one who comes from the earliest school of yogis, he didn't call himself Buddhist. So Buddha was not a Buddhist. Now, according to the accounts of Aryadeva, who was the foremost disciple of Siddhanagarjuna. Siddhanagarjuna is a title assigned to Nagarjuna when he founded the school of Tantra, or the Siddha tradition started. His school of yoga is called Achinta Yoga, or non-perceptual yoga. The yoga that will take you to non-perception, because perception is the illusion. This is what in Shiva Sutras, Lord Shiva said, Jnanang bandhaha, knowledge is the bondage. This intellectual speculation will eat up your brain not to understand it clearly. So, Tantra showed the binary of our perception, that every perception has two opposite sides. The good, bad, right, wrong, liking, disliking, and it's very relative. So, what is poison to you, if you can transmute it, so there is a way, because these two opposites have come from the same source. So if you go into the center, you can make the poison turn into medicine. The essential of wisdom of Tantra is that. Not 5 Buddhas, not 5 Taras, not this mantra, not that mantra, not this fire, not this monastery, not this altar and deities. It's how you can transmute your negativity into positive ends, or you can neutralize your negative and positive controversies. Is it clear? If it is not clear, then nobody, if this is not clear, nobody is entitled to Tantra to whom it is not clear. Tantra is a laboratory of your body and mind where you resolve the binaries. How you transmute your jealousy and competitiveness to accomplishment of singularity by self-challenges. How you can transmute your passion into compassion, sexuality into love. Technical practices of yoga. How you can transmute your ignorance, the quality of misunderstanding, standing on differences, into indifference of wisdom. All knowledge is attained by that. How you can transmute your hatred into renunciation, and how you can transmute your irritation into celebration of life. Now, a short footnote. You know, I am a very irritated person. People call me Kapawaba, means who is frantic, who is crazy, and frantic, gets angry now and then, because I meditated. Why I meditated? I have to every day confront with thousands of ignorance. And sometimes I get covered by them and I can't get confused and my irritation grows. So my irritation is connected to my identity of a guru, which is also a necessary evil, but which is also evil. So to turn it into celebration of life, I need somebody to tease. This is my tool of turning my irritation into celebration. Like Shantanu asked this question, poor fella, he's not responsible that he's born as a Brahmin, but of course it's a package deal of his wise attitude. And he asked me today in the start a very mundane question about the sections of Buddhism. What will help this to you? Except collecting informations and just increasing your brain juts, and one day you will do like this. Now, so long I will go on answering this question, I will go on cramming over my irritation. And to release from this irritation, I will go on poking Santanu. And if all other Brahmins here get poked, forgive me. I have no other way. When I was very young, a very senior astrologer said, you will become a sage in future. And the sages have no tranquility if they live among human beings, because they have to live in others' ignorance. You better learn how, he said it in a slang. I may not say that, or will I say it? They try to learn teasing people, poking people in their back. So he said, try to make a golden stick, fine golden stick, put it into the butter oil and put it into asshole of others. That will be only your enjoyment of life when you become a wholly spiritual being. Forgive me. This is how he said. Honestly, I said what he said. If Shubhamoy is here, then Shubhamoy knows this person. She said, nothing will interest you in life because mundane is meaningless that time to you. So my advice, I'm an old man advising you to learn how to poke others. Then you will enjoy something. But still, this transmuting the irritation of being a guru, it's a self-irritation because the guru is that self-identity. It's a tragedy. So I enjoy torturing the questionnaire. But listening to this, if you people don't ask me questions, I will not answer anything. So, at the end of his life, Siddha Nagarjuna set some oral teachings to his disciple, Aryadeva. Aryadeva wrote a thick Sanskrit text called Charya Milapaka Pradipam, the lamp of wisdom of coursing in perfection of wisdom. So there the text starts itself with a definition of a guru of Vajrayana. So Vajrayana, Banibrata, perfect support. কিন্তু তুই একটা শব্দ বাদ ফেলে দিয়েছিস। কি চুলকাইতে সুখ সেটা বলা দরকার। আচ্ছা, now Vajrayana concept was already, so I cannot say Vajrayana founder was Padmasambhava alone. It was already in the research of advancement of Tantra. Today, in this modern era, one of the Rinpoches whom I respect very highly, and his teachings are really appreciated in my heart like anything, Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche, he has made a remark in his big teaching, brilliant teaching of how a Tantra guru and disciples relationship should be. So ultimately, when he's speaking about Vajrayana, he's saying one line where he has put a controversial understanding about Vajrayana may not be Buddhism even. Think. He's saying Vajrayana may not be even Buddhist. So what is Vajrayana that many people still do not understand after 12,000 years, 1200 years of Vajrayana? The first monastery of Vajrayana was made, that is the start of the institutionalization of Vajrayana, in district Dhaka of Bangladesh. It's called Vikrampur subdivision, and the monastery is today known as Samapuri Bihar. It has been excavated, and from that excavation of the archaeological findings, there are many chilams, tridents, and shivalingams found from a Vajrayana monastery. Keep it in mind. Now the question of challenge comes whether you see Vajrayana as Shaivism or Buddhism. Sister Nivedita, the foremost disciple of Swami Vivekananda, not wrote a book, it is a lecture of her turned into a book called Shiva and Buddha. It also came to her mind that Shaivism and Buddhism are very alike to each other. Not outer fabrication, the inner understanding of the practice, of the yoga dharma, of the yogic practice. So Vajrayana came as the practice of the final 5 stages of nirvana, which has already been described in Tantrayana. So if Tantrayana is ending up your negatives and preparing for the Buddha consciousness to unfold in you, discover in you, then the stages of development of your Buddha consciousness into 5 elemental section is Vajrayana. Just wait a minute. Ma, can you, oh, okay, it's okay. Vajrayana, I continuously show you, is symbolized by this tool called Vajra. It has many meanings, but start with, it's a balanced, a design of a balance, polarization. It is like a design of a magnetic field. So, Tantrayana was transmuting one opposite to the other, and Vajrayana is seeing them indifferent and equal. So in Tantrayana, still there is a sense of difference. In Vajrayana, there is no sense of difference. So how a Tibetan High Rinpoche can say that there must be a difference? He's searching the difference, he's not searching the indifference. He's seeing the glass half empty, he's not seeing the glass half full. See the view, see the psychology. That's religion. That's not enlightenment. To me, following Buddha is following a path of enlightenment rather than following a religious doctrine and dogma. So this is Hinayana, individual purification. Mahayana, compound perfection and coursing in perfection of wisdom through sharing wisdom, which is compassion. Without compassion, wisdom is not enriched, because as many ways you will be challenged by your approachers, students and disciples, that many ways of resolution you will discover inside you in the way of teaching or training. So the compassion is a method to perfection of wisdom. This is a Mahayana. Mahayana in its epitome is Tantrayana, understanding the structure of enlightenment by equating the two opposites, either transmuting the negatives into positives or resolving the differences of negatives and positives into a neutral state of experience or feeling. That is the experience of samadhi, known as shunyata, or the voidness, free of names and forms, but is even free to be in names and forms. Like you see, this is a cup. So this is different from this box. There's a cup. Now you break it into pieces, it will not remain a cup. It will become granules. You break it further to atom, molecules and atoms. Then you break the atom. Then you break the neutron in the formation of atom. Then break it into positron. Then break it into alpha, beta, gamma ray. Then break it into photon. Then break it into plasma state of existence, which is void. So even being, it is a cup, it is void. This scientific realization of Tantrayana is voidness, which is very much a quantum theory in psychological practice. Acha, I am going to answer the questions now. I've explained the different stages. My beloved Brahmin, mother, son of the holy cow, are you happy with the informations, darling? You are not happy?
আমি তত্ত্বটা বুঝছি।
তত্ত্ব কি করে বুঝলি?
মানে তুমি যা যা বলছো সেটা বুঝবার চেষ্টা করছি।
মানে গর্তে পড়ে তত্ত্ব বুঝছিস নাকি?
এতক্ষণ তথ্য নির্ভর চাইছিলাম, সেটা যে তুমি তত্ত্বটা ব্যাখ্যা করলে যতটা বুঝলাম সবটা তো বুঝলাম।
I have recently written a book on this development of Indian philosophy till today, but in Bengali. It's a very short book, 55 pages in Bengali. So those who are Bengali readers, they can go into my timeline and find the internet magazine, e-magazine, that published this
Very good.
writing in 9 chronological publications of the magazine are present in internet. Those who read Bengali, for them it is there. I started working in translating it into English, but it's difficult, you know. English is a language that doesn't hold the culture of Sanskrit that creates those terminology. So when I will translate those terminologies, I have to go on expounding the book. So 55 pages may become 500 pages with footnotes to translate the meaning of the Sanskrit words. But when I'm writing in Bengali, in a Sanskritized language structure, it's very easy, because entire philosophy of Sanskrit and Pali literature are in so much metaphors and puns that can never be translated into English. Or if translated, will make no sense. Recently, in one of my posts last year or year before last, I wrote about one of my disciples' advancement in practicing the yogas of the Tantra. That is called Tantra Yoga or Yoga Tantra. Because the entire matter of Tantra, of each practice, with deities, mantras, rituals, rites, fire worship, everything can be changed into one single yoga dhan samadhi. So every Tantra essentially is a set of yogas, from their meditations, from meditations reaching samadhi, simplifying to zero. Not fabrication. Fabrication is for the people who cannot get into the wisdom, and they need to play with many things to prepare themselves to go further. But they may get caught up on those games of fabrications. So a recent scholar, a lady scholar who is my friend also, and a renowned Western scholar, wrote a comment there, nonsense. She being a Dakini, I know her for a long time, I had to make a comment to her comment that yes, it is not in your senses, because it is not a matter of sensuality of a Dakini. It's essential wisdom. And that essential wisdom you have not practiced. You have not got the sense of the tantras. You are without a fabrication. So you are feeling jealous or challenged that you are such a big Buddhist scholar and a tantric practitioner. Ultimately, you have not won over your own competitiveness, the first poison you didn't win over. So of course it is nonsense to you. Wisdom is nonsense to ignorance. One who realizes the equation of space and time and the resolution of space and time in perfection of wisdom will get all the accomplishments of Kala Chakra Tantra revealed to him or her. Don't have to make mandalas, don't have to make deities, don't have to make rites, rituals, congregations, initiations, anything. Because Buddha gave the teaching of Kala Chakra as the wheel of time. The wheel of time is the realization of connectivity of time and space. And thousands of years, people are worshipping Kala Chakra rites and rituals. They cannot understand what is the relation between time and space. This is the difference between a Buddhist and a realizer. It is not that a Buddhist will not become a realizer. But if somebody has chosen himself or herself to be a Buddhist and his identity and is fixed to an identity, he's anti-Buddha basically. Like promoting sexuality and violence in the total Western world and worshipping Christ in the church is basically a practice of antichrist. What Christ prohibited you to do, if you practice that and call yourself a Christian, you are not only a deluded soul, you are also antichrist. You are preaching something in name of Christ, which Christ didn't allow you. Enter Western social drama is going on, freedom of sex and competitiveness to war, and they are boasting themselves as Christians. They are antichrist. Similarly, Buddhist monasteries dress up, throne, crown, brocade won't prove a person following Buddha. It may also prove anti-Buddha. It's an establishment of egocentricness, that what I know is the ultimate and the best. I am this and that. I've not got the essence of wisdom at all. So more a person becomes wise, more a person becomes simple, not complex. That is why I said 0 is the simplest number. Can you feel it? Whereas 1 you can feel, this is 1 cup. Then 2 you can feel by saying this is 2 sides of the Vajra, but this is still 1. So people love to confuse themselves and confuse others. By that, cultivate ego. So Chinmay, you are correct, as you have said. Chinmay is saying, if an aspirant has not experienced or felt Nairatma, which means nothingness of self, or the nothingness of self, then how can the person, especially when he, she, or it is in the beginning of that spiritual journey, gain reliance on the doctrine or concept of voidness and avoid getting carried away into ego pursuits? Is it necessary to realize the self from the standpoint of Nigama before one can realize non-self from the standpoint of Agama? Yes, it's a very definite question. You cannot realize anything without the standpoint of self. When your self dissolves in the saturation of your realization, then you reach a state of losing the sense of being and dissolving into the void, termed as nirvikalpa or a non-alternative samadhi. One who has reached non-alternative samadhi has experienced Nairatma and can explain what that nothingness of self is. It is an accomplishment through stillness of mind, through compassion generated from wisdom, through transmuting the poisons into medicines. Then you come to nothingness of self. So Nairatma, today in the announcement of this talking party of us, this virtual satsang, an excellent Tibetan painting of Nairatma on nothingness of self, personified as a deity, has been very significantly put by Chinmayanath. Chinmayanath is nowadays going into the behavior of Sandhya Bhasha or illusory metaphoric behavior. All these days he was posting particular pictures with the announcement of today's satsang, every Wednesday satsang. The first day I realized he's doing this. And according to that, I was speaking through all the satsangs. Today I am saying he's already putting the question for the session. Today's session is actually Nairatma. But I thank the holy Brahmin, Shantanu, that how we can come to the historical moving of the wheel of dharma in the understand of Nairatma. So because I explained these stages, now it is very easy to answer your question for everybody. That I said every agama has nigama philosophy within it as the ascending order. So in the ascending order, you reach the realized self, and then you witness the dissolving of the self. In the 5 elemental meditation, in the 5th stage, you are dissolving the self. There is Nairatma. So similarly, Hinayana, Mahayana, Tantrayana, Vajrayana, in the 4th state, you asserted the self which is now getting dissolved. That is Nairatma. That is why in Niruttara Tantra, the 3rd initiation and empowerment comes with Nairatma. Chinmayanath, if you can show the picture of Nairatma, I don't know how to handle computer things that everybody sees, that I will explain the iconography of Nairatma for everybody's understanding. Otherwise, it will be only a terminology. Nairatma means nai, means not. Atma. Atma means soul. So Nairatma means dissolution of the soul, nothingness of being. Acha, Bak Kinopa, or our Kotagosai, it's a nickname, Kanchan has put in the chat for the Bengali readers my book on Vajrayana philosophy, my research on Vajrayana philosophy. This will take some time. It's not easy to translate. It will take time. Mario Rincon, you are asking, following the teachings of today, can we make some of these satsangs based on more on practice? Yes, Baba, we have to. We have to do that. But how can in internet, in a virtual meeting, I can teach experiential yoga? I'm not trained in it. I will try, but I'm not trained in it. Maybe wrong messages will go to you. And I don't want you not to get wrong messages and wrong interpretation of these teachings. If you are in person with me, I can teach you. I am a very traditional yogi. Most of my life I passed in cremation grounds, trying to see that I am dead. That is Nairatma, the death of the identity, and in caves. So I am very down to earth. I live in a very down to earth, simple reality, which has nothing to do with electronics and all these things. It is not that I don't use anything. You can see now it is midnight, over midnight here, and the light you are seeing is, of course, electric light. But I don't know to handle these things. I'm easy with fire than electricity. I know the electricity of my body. I can pass it to you, but I don't know how through internet, through plastic fibers, I can send my empowerment to you to experience the dictations of yoga. You understand? So I do not know how to help you in practice because I tried it before in a class for Spanish students, and whatever I was teaching them among hundreds of people, like 4 or 5 got it, also didn't get it properly. So if those who don't get it properly, they will try, in the process of trial and error, will make it so improvised. And if that improvisation sets in their mind, the true yoga, I cannot even teach them later. So I'm not trying here, because trying here can be very dangerous. Acha. Nairatma Thanka painting. People, you can go to chat and see this picture, Nairatma Thanka painting, and open it and see how does it look. But I've seen those who take internet classes, they show pictures and things. How they show, I don't know.
Baba, it's on Chinmoy's computer and I'm using my computer, so I'm gonna load it now and then open it, hopefully.
Okay. So by the time I answered something else.
Okay.
So Arindam Mitra has asked, how can we detect the chakras in our spinal cord, whether we have to think this or it can be felt, and what is the process? Yes, Arindam, first and foremost, these chakras are first felt along the Chandali Nari, in the front of the body, rather than in the spine in the first go. The way I teach is the spinal passage awakened. I cannot see you, Arindam. Yes. So as you have learned, it is in the spinal passage, it's good for theory. But when you will go to feel, you will not feel that point in the spine very easily. It's very difficult. You have to feel their extension in the front of the body. You know, when an embryo is being made, it's first the brain and the spinal cord starts coming down from the brain to the spinal cord, and each step of the spinal cord gets projected into the autonomous nervous system and comes and falls in the frontal part of the body. That is why the embryo looks like this. And slowly and slowly and slowly, when the whole body is made, the whole body is like in a front embracing form, because the spine is growing from the brain and making the frontal react. So through that reactive modes, you will find through the front, not through the spine. Because if you go by Shakti Chalini Mudra, by first Siddhasana, Siddha Mudra, then Jani Mudra, then Shakti Chalini Mudra, then you will feel the Kundalini and you will feel the gush of the energy going up the spine straight, and you will feel the brain pulsation. But you will not feel each chakra. The Guru has to touch and show you. So that is also ordained, or better to say, like an information, you put your mind there and know it. But I first complete it. You people are seeing the picture of Nairatma. Are you everybody seeing it?
Yes, Baba.
So first we have to feel the frontal chakras, which are more active to our touch sensation and feelings. So those only I can show you in presence of me. Just by words, I cannot show you that. Okay? Arindam, do you understand what I'm saying? Because I have come through a practice that from the front, I have learned to track back the points into the spine. But if I tell you the information of the spine, you may get self-hypnotized and concentrate there, the chakras are there. Do you understand what is the trouble in giving information prior to experience?
वो उनके सुनने के लिए नहीं थे, मेरा डिसिप्लिन
into these informations, because knowledge is bondage. You have to feel it. So until and unless you reach me, I cannot complete your answer. Okay? I will just give you a reference of a book, Tantra Bhilashit Sadhu Sangha. Read the chapter of Bhamakapa that the author is discussing with Bhamakapa, one enlightened being, about another enlightened being, Sri Ramakrishna, who is a contemporary enlightened being. And Sri Ramakrishna has experienced them in the frontal system. And Bhamakapa has experienced them in the spinal system. Because these are two different ways of their gurus teaching them. You can experience the both, but you have to know how to do the concentration of mind and breathing techniques, which are mudras, through which you will open each chakra or go to the pulsation of each chakra and locate it. So generally in Yogirat Shamacharan Lahiri's system, the spine are called chakras and the fronts are called padmas or lotuses. It is also called prakash. Yogirat Shamacharan Lahiri has called it prakash or expression. It's like one stem is the spinal cord, and from there multiple stems are holding multiple neuroplexuses in the front, whose roots are in spine, but the plexuses are working in the front on the Chandali Nari. So I'm not going to the intricate discussion of it because it will make no sense to anybody. Okay, now people, you are seeing Nairatma. Can everybody of you see it?
Yes, Baba.
Yes, Baba.
One has also happened. In the right side of Nairatma, a digital breakup column has appeared in my computer. I do not know whether it has happened to your computers also. See, on the right shoulder of Nairatma, the aureole, the black aura cycle, all are broken and divided here. Can you see my arrow? No. Okay. Okay, then it may be in my computer only. Whatever. I'm explaining this image. Mine, Chinmay is saying, mine is broken too. Yes.
Mine is
So it
broken
is
too.
significance because the right side of the deity is always the knowledge side. The right side of the deity is known to be knowledge because our right channel or sun channel, which is from the Agya Chakra to the entire right side of the body, passing over to the left side. It has got broken for everybody. It has got broken, gone to the left side. So from the left leg to the right side of the body through in men, yes, Pingala. It's through in men, the Ida and Pingala. Ida is the left channel, known as popularly as the moon channel, and right channel is called Pingala, which is known popularly as the right channel or the sun channel. They're crossing in the two legs and crossing in the Muladhara or perineum, the perineal plexus or Muladhara chakra in men. In women, they're crossing into Sadhisthana chakra or the sexual plexus. This is very physiological difference in man and woman. Woman's body is very Vajra body. It's the chakras are very polarized. Like if you see, the Vajra, if this is the heart chakra in the center, then this is the throat chakra, and this is the navel chakra, equated. And then is the Agya chakra, or the third eye, balanced with the sexual plexus. And then the crown or the brain plexus, Sahasrara, is with Muladhara, aligned. Because the sexual plexus is equidistant from the heart as the Agya chakra with and polarized with the Agya chakra. This is naturally evolved in a female body, but not in a male body. In male body, Muladhara is one end, the down end of the cross of the Ida Pingala is Muladhara, and up end of the cross of the Ida Pingala is in third eye, thus making it a bit disbalanced. This is why in Tantra, the ultimate principles of perfection are so shown as female deities rather than male deities. Yes, the middle of the Vajra Ramananda is Anahat. And remember, when we are developing from unicellular being to multicellular being in the womb of the mother, the first cell ultimately develops as our Anahata chakra or our heart plexus. So Nairatma is designed as feminine. The principle of nothingness of self is feminine, or it is a mother concept of all concepts. That is nothingness of the self. So Nairatma, right hand is holding the chopper blade. Now the chopper blade, it's to mince. So mincing, What she's mincing? She's mincing the brain that is held in her skull bowl in the left. So, analysis is the mincing of the brain. So the right channel is holding analytical wisdom, and left channel is holding the skull bowl or meditation of Mahamudra or the brain. So by equating the analysis and the experience of Mahamudra, you can reach the dissolution of the self into nothingness of samadhi, and thus is Nairatma. Now, her left foot is standing. So she's standing on the left foot. Left foot is Pingala Nari. Because the left foot is Pingala Nari, in the body it has become the right, and in the head it becomes the left lobe again. It has become the left lobe, right? So it's like a snake. This is how in entire South India you will see two snakes crossing each other are worshipped. This is actually showing the Ira Pingala structure of the body. So standing on the dictations of a guru, which are the sutras shown by the left foot, standing on a zombie, Vetala, an alive dead or a living dead. Who is a living dead? Who has transcended or killed the cause of life. What is the cause of life? Sexuality. One who has transcended sexuality is the holy zombie who is living dead, who has transcended the cause of creation and is still living in creation. So on the lotus of the expression of teachings, you can see the lotus leaves are opened. That is, it is a teaching in the way of coming down, a teaching of Agam, a teaching of life, that you have to attain the state of a living dead, transcending sexuality. On that, the principle or the mother principle of pure consciousness, free from the attribute of ego identity, is the state. So she's standing, you can see her aureole in the back is fire flames. So what is this fire flames? Fire flames of the funeral pyre, means how much your penance has burnt out your ego identities is the ring of fire. So she's standing in the cremation funeral pyre fire, the fire of death, standing on the accomplishment of transcending sexuality. And her right leg is pulled up to her waist, up to her pelvic, as she is offering a lap, as a mother takes a child in lap. So one who is taking the teaching is a child to this mother, that she is offering her right lap or experience. The right leg is the moon channel, experience of this, of burning out identities through the practice of yoga, of Amorali, Vajrayana, and Sahajali mudras, to become a holy zombie or one who has transcended sexual attachment. And she's holding the chopper blade of perfection of analysis, Vajra analysis in her right. The great explanation of this analysis is found in the Vajra Chedika Pragya Paramita text. There's a Paramita or text of wisdom by Buddha called the thunder chopper blade, means it's the perfect way of analysis. And she's holding in her left shoulder the Khattanga. Khattanga is a scepter which explains the perfection of tantric wisdom. You can see in my picture, there is a Khattanga in my left. So there is a trident or a Vajra head in the top, showing the completion of the Vajrayana journey, and three heads as the lowest head is personal perfection, identity. The second head, the upper head, is the universal perfection of identity, and the third head is non-identity, which is represented by a dead skull. And there are other things. I'm not going to details of the Khattanga today. If you go to my timeline, I have explained this instrument, Khattanga, which is the scepter of accomplishment of entire Tantrayana. So she's holding this Khattanga with a banner of victory hanging on it with it. She's wearing bone ornaments in her feet, waist, in her chest like a bone jacket, and in her hands, and a crown of 5 skulls. These are actually 5 sets of accomplishment of yoga metaphorized as this bronze dress. This is called Panchamudra. So ultimately there are 5 mudras or discoveries of cosmic equilibrium in your own body mind, and those accomplishments are metaphorized as these ornaments. In the rituals, we wear these ornaments empowered. But that's also not the essential wisdom. The ritual is only a preparation of imagining the essential of wisdom. Now, you see her color is blue-black, which is the color of the 4th element or the air element. So the judgment of samadhi is her color. What is the judgment of samadhi? Voidness. So voidness is her adorned color. She has 3 eyes of the vision of the past, present, and future, which is said to be, when accomplished, you come to the moment, living in the moment, or momentary consciousness, which is the essential of Kala Chakra as the correlation and polarization of space and time. Those who don't understand it, go on doing all rituals, see whether your space and time is balanced or not. So, in your sadhana, in your real practice of yoga, meditation, and samadhi, all these deities, rituals will get resolved. And if you go on doing these rituals, it may not ever resolve. I am not asking you not to respect the rituals, but only rituals is not proceeding in wisdom. And see, now Chinmoy has said also, Chinmoy corrected it or not, I do not know, but the right part of Nairatma got disturbed, got repaired. No, it happened by chance. This is synchronicity. So if there are believers, they will believe Ma Nairatma showed how wrong analysis can be, it can break the audio, it can break the picture, it can break the vision, but experience will not. Rituals are for novice to get disciplined into experiential wisdom. Rituals are not more than that. So when we completed our description of Nairatma, Nairatma's Pingala side got healed by herself. What about that? Lalita Ma says something about that fun. It happens. This is synchronicity. It will always happen like this. You call it miracle, it's miracle. You call it accident, it is accident. You call it synchronicity, yogis will call it synchronicity, that something will happen matching the teaching. So the image of Nairatma is the ritualistic personification of the wisdom of nothingness of being. Bunny, did you correct the picture or what? Because suddenly in the heart of Nairatma, Bunny Broto name came up. So we have to look at Bunny. What is Bunny doing? Why Nairatma is showing Bunny Broto's name in the
I
heart
don't know,
of
Baba.
Nairatma? Huh?
I don't know.
It's
It
better
just
you don't
happened.
know. Because without knowing when things happen, we know its mark. In the Karjuba tradition, these are taken as spiritual marks, the happenings. If Chinmoy Ma and Chinmoy, remember my first time meeting you in that study of Vajrayana class, I shouted about voidness and all the computers died then and there. Remember? I said voidness and it all stopped. How does this happen? You ask me, I don't know. So it's not my credit. It's the existential mark of things are happening. So Chinmay, your posting of Nairatma, your posting of the question and the process of explanation proved the significance of your posting this picture today. Because when I saw this picture, you know, I have performed a lot of rituals in my life. So it is not that I'm against rituals. I'm saying don't get only caught by rituals. But my wisdom guru was poking me. Will you remain caught up in these rituals? But when I saw this picture today, I felt a great significance because yesterday night I was talking to Ma Tara and saying, Ma, oh, Jenima's computer stopped? Okay, you just managed to restore it. Horibol, horibol. Acha, Shubhama is asking who is hanging from the right shoulder. Nobody is hanging, Baba. Ma has a mundamala or a garland of fresh cut off heads. Fresh cut off heads are the perfection of the 51 Sanskrit letters that make all the mantras. And when they're silent, means the effect of these mantras are happening in your body mind, then they are shown as dead skulls. But the fresh cut off heads are that. But she's wearing a cloak of human skin. You can see down like a skin of the hand and the skin of the feet. In the shoulder also a skin of the feet, and the right shoulder skin of the hand is hanging. Can you see that? Where did Shubhamoy get lost asking the question? Can you see that, Shubhamoy? Okay. So that is skinning a human being. Why a human skin is her adornment. That human skin is your identity centricness or your identity masks that are continuously changing. So that is skinned out. Your appearance is skinned out. And the tiger skin that she's wearing is also a metaphor of Tantra. Tantra explains mundane life as that of a tigress. So samsara is the tigress. So one who has killed the samsara tigress and wearing the skin, wearing only the appearance of a tiger, but no more the tiger of possession, is wearing a tiger skin. Similarly, one who appears as a human being, but the identity is lost, it's the dead skin of a man or a human being hanging as an adornment. Good, you asked this question. Many people just overlook this. So this is the wisdom of Nairatma, nothingness of self. And the 5 skulls in the crown are the 5 deaths. Death of your physical identity, death of your emotional identity, death of your perceptual identity, death of your judgmental identity, and death of the thought or assertion of self-identity or self. So the soul is broken, it's dissolved. So she is in the cremation ground because this is called the death meditation. In Hindu Tantra also, Shakta Tantra, she appears. In Tantraloka, text by Abhinavagupta, describing the 13 different forms of Kali, she is the last form of Kali called Vameshwari, or one who returns back from nothingness to life. Some people have translated her as Krodha Kali, or Ugra Kali, or Smashana Kali. Of course, according to cultural differences, they do the adornments and forms differently. This is a very beautiful depiction of Nairatma, an Indian black stone statue. I think in the collection of Sarnath Museum, Nairatma stands there in a black stone statue of Pala era, the time when Vajrayana got institutionalized and flourished. So Nairatma is the start of the perfection of wisdom. This is Samadhi and Nairatma, saying Babaji, yes. In Samadhi, where you lose your self or recognition of the self, that Nirvikalpa Samadhi is Nairatma. So this is the perfection of wisdom, that you course in it and go deeper and deeper roots. More you do go deeper with this practice of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, more you proceed as a bodhisattva. One day you forget the importance of yourself, and that is the day of Nirvana. So Nairatma is this perfection of wisdom that we were speaking about in Tantrayana. And at the age of 18, I was ordered by Ma Tara, Ma Kali. That time I was worshipping Kali, the form, earlier form of wisdom, earlier to Tara. So Kali is the deluge or the self dying, that state of onlyness of being that is also dying is Kali. So this is the last form of Kali, which is Nairatma. Many idiotic Shakta Tantrics have debated with me long in internet forums also that Tantra's goal is Advaita or non-duality and not voidness. They should read Tantralaka, from where their Kola system actually comes, and see Bhameshwari as the self dissolved into voidness. If they have not known that, they are not Tantrikas to start with. They are Brahminical Tantrikas, like a golden bowl made up of stone, not made up of gold. They're absurd. So at the age of 18, when I completed my practice in Tarapit, she appeared to me in this form. And I was asked to make a statue of her and start with a ritual and end up with the zombie meditation or Shava Sadhana. So whenever I look at her, particularly this picture is brilliantly painted. It is a combination of Chinese and Nepalese style together called the Menri style. This is a Menri style Thangka. Brilliant painting, brilliant picture. Those who are Bengalis and see Smashan Kali, you can see the same form in difference. The cultural differences are there of adornments and making the statue. But this is Nairatma, the nothingness of self. Let me see what more questions are there. Acha. I go to the first and see if CJ, I do not know who is he or she, is asking if a Tathagata is one who goes and comes back, how can one know it is the same Tathagata is the one who comes back? Does it even matter if it is the same Tathagata who comes back as long liberation of all sentient being is the goal? Yes, a Tathagata is one who has reached the Tathagata. Tathat agata. Tat means suchness, which cannot be explained in words, which is voidness. One who has reached the voidness and come back. You may not misunderstand it as incarnation. A Tathagata's incarnation is the outproduct of his getting into samadhi and coming back from samadhi. That is practiced in life and death, where a Tathagata has gone into the house of nirvana and come back to teach everybody. So it is true that one who is the Tathagata, he or she knows clearly. Others may know, may not know, that doesn't matter. Now I am asking again, CJ, I do not know who you are. Is your answer clear or something left that I need to answer? I will say something more about this. My Tibetan guru, I consider as Chatra Rinpoche. Though he has not taught me anything, but he has put me into jobs of compassion from where I have learned a lot. He has ordered me to write 2 books, one on Sri Vidya and one on the yogas of Tantra Yoga or Vajra Yoga. So I've written Vajra Yoga, yet not published. Sri Vidya has been already published. In the process of doing Sri Vidya, it took me 15 years' time to come to the perfection of I am happy with the work. I'm still not happy with the work because what I have done is so condensed that when people read, most of the people do not understand. It's in 22 pages. Journey that took in India for more than 18,000 years. So you understand that to explain it, everything is not possible. He asked me to correct Sri Yantra. So I did it. So when I met Rinpoche, Chatral Sangha Dorje Rinpoche, he never claimed any past incarnation. He got the title of a Rinpoche or the precious 5 lustre jewel, that is the explanation of the term Rinpoche, the 5 lustered jewel or the rainbow jewel. He gained it from his guru. He received this title from his guru, the great Dujjum Rinpoche, who is said to be representative of Padmasambhava on earth. And he did not declare his tulkuship or incarnation. But when I first saw Chatral Sangha Dorje Rinpoche, I was a student of class 9. And that time I didn't know him. I accidentally met him in a monastery in Ghum, in Darjeeling. He was a monk there at that time. And I went into trance and revelation. And so he came and talked with my parents that whatever he's saying, you have any idea what he's saying? They said, no, he's mad. We have treated him with doctors, medicines, pills, everything. But some people recognize him to be a parapsychological case. Some call him a reincarnate. We don't believe in this, but yes, he goes into this type of trances. What it is, we do not know, and he speaks all bullshit. They may sometimes is meaningless to us. So Rinpoche said, what this child is speaking, this boy is speaking perfection of the teachings of Vajrayana. So he must be an incarnation of an old accomplished being. And Rinpoche asked me who you are, and my trance broke and I could not answer. I got very afraid because in my life, in my young days, when I used to go into trance and express it and could not control it, my revelations, my oral revelations, I used to get very beaten down by my parents also, that I'm doing a kind of drama. Even my friends of school, they also thought I'm doing drama. This misunderstanding broke my many friend relationships. I started understanding that what I'm sharing with people, they have no clue what I'm experiencing or directly knowing things. If I share with them, I will be treated as a lunatic. But I knew my past incarnation. So a time came, I succumbed, I stopped. So when I went to Chatral Rinpoche, he asked me through his daughter, Ma Saraswati, that why I have come to him. His daughter asked me in English. I said, I have seen Rinpoche as my guru of past lives, And my heart melted, and I knew he's in this world, in this reincarnation, and I wanted to come to see out of love and gratitude. Then his daughter said, but my father is called a Rinpoche because he's accomplished as a Rinpoche, rather than the general trend of Tibetans calling any reincarnation as a Rinpoche, which is not true. But they call every reincarnation as Rinpoche. It is a way, cultural way of respecting them. But it is like over the way definition. Then I said, I do not know that, but I have seen him in this Bihara. I just named an old Bihara, old monastery, some 1300 years ago. And I took training under him. So I remember him. And I cried. I wept in my emotions. I'm very emotional too. And Rinpoche just smiled and cooled me down. Later, he sent me an English translated letter through his daughter, where he has written his Sanskrit name of the past birth. That entire life, he has never spoken to anybody. I have this letter with me. So I will also not say this openly, because he has not said it openly. He has personally said it to me, to say that yes, he recognizes me. Then he also remembered that he saw me as a little child. And that time he told my mother and father, don't take him to monasteries and pilgrimages and temples. Then he will get conditioned by religion. He is a Mahasiddha who has come from the past, and he will grow of his own without outer religious influences. So thus, a Tathagata comes back or not is only an importance between the guru and the disciple. Or it's not important to anybody at all, because those importance cannot be challenged, cannot be proved in many cases. Many cases they can be proved, many cases they cannot be proved. Nowadays, you see in the Lamaistic tradition where reincarnations are practiced very virtually with real virtues, they are also a seat of a Rinpoche is claimed by 2, 3 differences, and there are fights among them, among those candidates. There has been a movie made in English called The Little Buddha. There also these controversies have been tried. The director tried to explain these controversies. So it is also true that it doesn't matter whether a past reincarnation was there or not. Of course, a soul is in journey, so everybody is reincarnate, you know it or not. But seeing the samskaras or by birth characterization or characters, the enlightened beings recognize the reincarnations. I was happy that Chatral Sangedorje Rinpoche remembered me, and I cried. So he offered me the price of making this trident. Thus, this trident is a gift from him, I consider. He was such a great master. He was a master of yogas. And he said that he has taken lessons together with his Guru Dujjam Rinpoche from my second Guru, Baba Ramnath Aghori. So now what will the Buddhists and Hindus say? Are these gurus Hindus or Buddhists in that tagging, or they are just enlightened beings? These masters, these enlightened beings cannot be actually designed or framed under religious motives or religious dogmas. In every meditation center of humble meditation centers of Chakras Rinpoche, they are very humble. There will always be a Bodhi tree. Under the Bodhi tree will be a Shiva Lingam, and there will be Radha Krishna or Vishnu images. I have seen in a number of his centers picture of the Bengali yogi Loknath Brahmachari. Chakras Rinpoche was very fond of Loknath Brahmachari. He used to say that the tradition of Siddhas have not died. See, in the last century also, people like Loknath Brahmachari came into being. So these Tathagatas, Bodhisattvas are coming and going. And who is there actually to judge? I do not know. Everybody's judgment is for their own benefit or from their own realization. Thus, whether our incarnation is recognized or not doesn't matter. My Indian gurus used to say, what you were yesterday does not make any importance what you are today, because what you were yesterday and what you are today has gone through a changefulness. If you were a king yesterday, today you are a beggar. How thinking that you are a king will satisfy your hunger as a beggar? So in the Indian tradition, we don't give much importance to these incarnations because these are very fictitious many a time. Whatever I am saying is also, you can neither prove wrong nor prove right. So these are fictions. How can I prove it is a fact? Like with Nairatma, a fact came that analytical wisdom can be broken. The picture got broken in the right side. And when the total explanation was over, it got corrected. Because experiential wisdom can give birth to perfection of analysis. So if you only take the chopper blade and not the skull bowl, if you are only analyzing without experiencing the sections of brain in the Mahamudra, going through the 64 samadhis, meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. Why did Sakyamuni, somebody asked, Buddha used the word drishti instead of darshan, often used by the Vedanta? No, it is not right. Drishti is the view and darshan is the vision. Doesn't matter. It's not important. It's again intellectual analysis. I'm not indulging in that. Is that I'm trying to see, is there any more questions? So, Chinmoy, the explanation of Nairatma is okay, or you have subordinate questions about it?
It's okay, Baba.
Okay. Then I've done my jobs, okay? I really want to make you practice, as Mario said, but how can I make you experience through this? Professor Dr. Jayanta Kumar has asked, why do the conventional spiritual texts always emphasize, especially on enlightenment? Perception of darkness must be there also to reach to equipoise. So many aspirants are misguided by this. This is the trouble of translation, my darling. In translation, English, it is enlightenment. Because English language speakers do not enjoy a deep sleep. They always want to see something. So they need light. And because they need light, the ultimate understanding of realization is enlightenment. So when we translate it in English, we say it enlightenment. It's a necessary evil word. As the color of Nairatma is dark, so it will be darkenment, or we will become satanic. See the problem. These are the cultural problems of translation. Okay? Oh, CJ means side yet, Joseph. Okay. 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 Manibrata says privately, so I cannot read it. Oh, that's true, Bunny. What she said, that is the truth. Whatever we do is done by God. That is the thought of one who realizes through the identity or experience of God. Oh, Mario says he likes candles. Then he will like me, definitely. Acha. Debdulal Chakraborty, or privately. Debdulal, I will talk to you. Kocha, তোর সাথে পরে কথা বলবো এই নিয়ে। আমি মাকে প্রার্থনা করি তুই এই বিপদ থেকে উদ্ধার পা। আমার মন বলছে তুই খুঁজে পাবি। Okay. So any more question? Do you permit me to leave now or you don't? Rashi is smiling very illusory smiles. Rashima, you have any question? You have to unmute to say anything. I cannot hear you.
Okay, just my. I was looking at the Tathagata, and I saw that there are humans getting killed by a swan and some animals killing human beings and stuff.
That is the cremation ground. So dead bodies are getting scavenged by white vultures looking like
vultures.
In Himalaya, there are white vultures, absolutely white, and white wolves.
Okay.
So they are seen as the retinues of Kali and Tara.
Okay.
They eat the dead bodies because in Tibet, many of the dead bodies cannot be cremated because of less wood
So they
in
snow-clad areas. And there is a vessel at the bottom. Is that an offering vessel?
That is the offering bowl, yes.
Yeah.
All that what is shown as offering has to be understood, the yogas of those practices.
Right, okay.
Generally, all the five senses are shown there. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue.
I saw that and thought maybe it's that. Okay, Baba.
Okay. Anybody, any more questions? Larissa? Larissa is a scholar. Larissa should ask something, eh? Ma? Okay. Larissa is not asking anything. Mika, you have anything to ask?
Yes, Papa, why not?
Say.
Can you tell me about ancestral karmas?
ancestral karmas are genetic karmas that you are holding in your genes, in your heredity. They are mainly connected to your navel plexus or Manipura. It takes a long time, Baba, to overcome ancestral karmas. They are one of the oldest. In the pile, there are 5 karmas, a pile of karmas. It's first is your past lives karmas. Then the moment that karma chooses your parents, your parental genetics is flowing into you, and there can be recessive or dominant factors of heredity, which you inherited as a continuation of your past life karmas in present life, and it is changing the mode of the karmas. So in our system, you are called a sannyasi in true sense, or a true renunciate, when you go beyond your ancestral karmas. There's a ritual of Viraja Homa with sannyasis, which is now mostly ritual and nothing else. That is actually, in old times, it was a certification from a guru that a person has transcended his ancestral karmas. The hereditary or genetic conditioning has been transcended. So it's called the 4th elemental karma cleansing. In the element of air, this karma cleansing happens, ancestral karmas.
ঠিক আছে।
It's a practice of Niruttara Tantra or Anuttara Tantra.
Yeah, my question was that from our childhood, we used to hear that you have to focus on seeing the light in your kutastha, like the Kriya yogis generally used to say that. So why the target should be always seeing the
that is a
light?
Turataka. It does not mean that if samadhi is losing all colors and light, that means light is bad.
Okay.
There is 2 aspects of samadhi, prakasha and vimarsha. Vimarsha is nigam, going into your source. That is dark, that is Krishna, that is Kali. But from there, when you come back with the wisdom, it is light, that is Shiva.
Okay.
So don't go into any extremes, darling.
Okay.
I'm not putting you into any extreme. I'm just trying to make you understand the polarization. Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
তাহলে এবার একটু গাজে খেয়ে শুয়ে পড়বি নাকি বল? হরিবল হরিবল।
তুমি যা বলবে।
আমি যা বলবো, আমার নামে খাস নাকি?
আর বললাম না।
ঠিক আছে, ওই লিখেছে বাণীব্রত, বিকৃত করিয়া মুখ চুলকাইতে বড়ই সুখ।
ওয়ার্ডটা অমিট করে গেছে ইন্টেনশনালি, একটা ওয়ার্ড। কোথায় চুলকাইছে?
ভদ্রলোক তো, ও তো ভদ্রলোক, সেজন্য বলছেন।
হ্যাঁ বাবা।
ঠিক আছে, then today we'll leave here. Today was a brilliant day that we discussed Nairatma. So it was also a ritual of knowledge and wisdom. Shambhu Adesh, Aghor Adesh, Avadhut Adesh, Alakha Niranjan, Boom, 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 boom. Har Har Mahakal.
Adesh.